The Rey movie might just be another charred husk on the pile of canceled projects fumbled by the Lucasfilm Fem-pire. Who saw that one coming? Hello, I'm Marvin, and I'm the Movie Monster. Since it was announced at Star Wars Celebration a few years ago, the Rey Palpatine movie has seemed like a bad idea. Not only is it yet another girl boss-centric film, but it's centered around the deeply unpopular Rey Palpatine from the deeply unpopular Star Wars sequel trilogy. Now, it brings back Daisy Ridley, who is an actress that I do generally like, playing a character that I genuinely hate. Feminist activist documentarian Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, a woman who has never helmed a big-budget film in her life and claims that her favorite part of her work is making men uncomfortable, was hired to direct. And it made a bunch of purple-haired holdos who are not actually ever going to buy a ticket to see this film scream, "Yes, Queen!" In short, this movie is the Death Star of modern Lucasfilm, or as we call it on this channel, the Fem-pire. Meow, 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 meow. But the Fem-pire and its Fem-pire, Kathleen Kennedy, are famous for announcing projects that never end up seeing the light of day. There's Rian Johnson's trilogy, Kevin Feige's movie, the films being put together by the hacks who ruined Game of Thrones, Taika Waititi's movie, Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie, the Origin of the Force movie, and many others that I just don't remember off the top of my head. All of them announced, all of them touted, none of them made. So when they announced this movie and brought Daisy out on the stage to stand beside the Fem-pire herself before the shilling masses, my first thought was, well, that's never gonna happen. But that was also the first thing I said about the Acolyte, and
Power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
Well, we all know that happened. But then D23 came and went, an event where Lucasfilm was promoting all of its upcoming projects, but not a peep about the Rey movie, not even a hateful comment from Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. So that got me thinking, could it be that after the Acolyte's failure, they're actually pulling the plug on this movie? It's unlikely we'll ever know for sure anytime soon. Lucasfilm never confirms when these projects are scrapped. They just kind of are never heard from again, like an expendable sibling on a 90s sitcom family. But there are some breadcrumbs to be followed that tell a story of failure and cancellation, and we're going to discuss it today on Tooneytown TV. Oh no, what happened? After Star Wars Rey movie writer announces plan to open new studio in Los Angeles, speculation grows that the Star Wars film could be scrapped. And this is by John F. Trent over at That Park Place, my good friend and colleague over there. So Stephen Knight, who is supposed to be penning the script for the Rey movie starring Daisy Ridley and being directed by feminist activist documentarian director Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, any other choice words I have to describe her will be reserved for a channel that has more mature ratings than I have, announced plans to launch a new studio in Los Angeles. So this announcement has Star Wars fans speculating that the Rey movie might get significantly delayed or scrapped altogether. It sounds like they might have to hire a new director at the very least, and at its worst, then we might be done with this. The Fem-pire might have lost. The Death Star might be destroyed because this was their super weapon. This was the doomsday weapon of the Fem-pire, Kathleen Kennedy, and her Fem-pire. So the BBC's Ben Sidwell reported that Knight, the creator of Peaky Blinders, announced plans to open a studio in Los Angeles in the U.S. Knight told BBC, "I'm going to open a Digbeth Lock studio here where people can go and look at what we're doing, see pictures, decks, and video of what's happening so people in LA can experience what we're doing at Digbeth." And there he is right there. By the way, that's the guy who's supposed to be writing this feminist this feminist masterpiece that Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy keeps touting. Her favorite thing is making men uncomfortable. I wonder if he was uncomfortable writing the script. The announcement came as Knight gears up to begin production on a Peaky Blinders movie, to which he shared details of where they plan on filming. We'll be shooting in Digbeth Lock, and we found some unbelievably good locations around Birmingham and West Midlands. We will be at the Black Country Living Museum again, and there will be locations around the country as well. Of note, he indicated that this film is the end of the first chapter of Peaky Blinders. That means it's likely that he has plans for potentially more Peaky Blinders films after this one. Following this announcement, there were rumblings that Knight was opening a new studio and seemingly going all in with Peaky Blinders, which is going to leave little room for a Rey movie.
Scooper and analyst WDW Pro speculated he is wrapped up in opening studios. That is no small endeavor. And our understanding was that he was supposed to be working with the Rey movie, with Shamino Bechinoy, with Lucasfilm, and that would be an ongoing process. It seems to us, and he was talking to Lauren Connor here, seems to us, Lauren, and again, we could be wrong here, but seems to us that he is now going to be working on the Peaky Blinders thing. And it makes us wonder if either the Rey movie has been delayed such that he can work on this for years and years and come back to it later, or he's been removed and nobody knows it yet, which would not portend well for the Rey movie either. So that is where we are being led to believe that perhaps the Rey movie has experienced even more hiccups. Oh, wouldn't that be a shame? Lorne Connor, who is the lore master, we have him on Tooney Talk TV on Thursday nights all the time, just about every week. Lord pops in, and he is the ultimate Star Wars fan. Guy knows so much. So Lorne shared his own opinion. He would say, I would say that this is part of the reason why Lucasfilm and Disney over the last few years have tried to get away from people with clout in the industry to be their showrunners, their producers, and things like that, because people that have that kind of influence can say no. He continued, so my guess is that rather than necessarily the production being halted eventually, it wouldn't surprise me if we got something that said, oh, there were creative differences or there were conflicts because he's opening these studios. He's just too busy to do it right now. And that was the excuse they made for the Game of Thrones hacks. They were like, oh, they're so busy working on their Netflix projects. Let me tell you something, guys. There is no Netflix project in the world that is important enough to keep somebody from working on Star Wars. All right. Like, I know the IP has been dragged through the mud repeatedly over recent years, but it's still Star Wars, way bigger than any streaming show or movie that you could possibly be hired to direct or write or whatever. Lauren then added, I do think that it would be far too big of an embarrassment to make some kind of an announcement saying the Rey movie is canceled or even delayed, but my suspicion is they will find lots of ways to creatively delay it because right now they're holding their breath and they're trying to figure out how do we get out of this hole that we've dug for ourselves. I think Lauren hit the nail on the head right then and there. That is 100% what's happening here. It is they have dug themselves in a hole. They put this movie over so huge. They touted it. Oh, it's going to be so stunning. It's going to be so brave. It's going to be so feminist. And now they're not making it. And so now they can't just come out and be. Remember, Lucasfilm never came out and said the Acolyte was scrapped. Lucasfilm never made an official announcement. That was Deadline leaked it. So I'm assuming somebody there told them to make that announcement. But Lucasfilm does not announce cancellations. They never say like, oh, we're no longer moving ahead with this project. So that's something to remember here. I think the Acolyte has absolutely rattled them. I don't think you would be seeing what we're seeing in the reactions in the fandom right now if they weren't absolutely rattled by what happened with the Acolyte. I think that it was a shock even to Lucasfilm and Disney, he concluded. Interestingly enough, there was a rumor back in January from World of Reel's Jordan Rumi that the film had been delayed indefinitely. He wrote, I've been told that Disney has delayed the film indefinitely, which is why they surprised everyone last week and decided to announce The Mandalorian and Grogu as the next Star Wars movie. They just don't have confidence that New Jedi Order, that was apparently supposed to be its name, New Jedi Order, which, by the way, was an EU concept, and it was a Luke Skywalker story, which... deep breaths, Marv, deep breaths. Will be happening in the near future. As for the reason why, he shared, the problem seemed to reside in creative differences between screenwriter Stephen Knight and Lucasfilm. I'm told that a draft had originally been written for the film, but Lucasfilm gave him so many notes that he had to start from scratch. I can only imagine what notes from the Fem-pire and Shamino Bechinoy look like. Given this, Rumi is hearing Knight might exit the project, explaining his frustrations have grown. He's put Star Wars in the back burner and is now focused on the screenplay for his Peaky Blinders movie, which is supposed to go into production in the fall. By the way, I have no idea what Peaky Blinders is. I think I've said the word now more times than I've ever said those two words in my entire life. And I have no idea what it is. I don't know what genre it is. I have no idea like where it is or how I can learn more about it. I'll look it up eventually, probably, especially if it's the reason why the Rey movie doesn't get made, because then it'll be my new favorite movie. So during an appearance on the Hot Mic show, Jeff Snyder alleged that Sean Levy might replace Shamino Bechinoy. He said, I'm told that Sean Levy's project does have an element. I don't know if Rey is front and center in it, but Rey is a character in Sean Levy's movie. He elaborated, now is Daisy Ridley's Rey an older Rey? We've heard those rumors back in the day, maybe about Helen Mirren being positioned as an older Rey. So I don't know in Sean Levy's movie if A, Rey is the lead character, or B, if Rey is Daisy Ridley's age, or she could be someone in her 40s, 50s, or someone who's like 70 or 80, like Helen Mirren. I don't know. That's an interesting thought, that it might not even be Daisy Ridley by the time we get a Rey movie, if we ever get a Rey movie. Let's hope we never get a Rey movie. But I had heard this rumor as well. I had heard that they were bringing in Sean Levy to kind of like shadow direct, because, you know, they hired Shameen Obaid-Chinoy based on her comments on how much she likes to make men uncomfortable, which, you know, fit right into the Fem-pire's agenda. But then once the initial work started on this movie and the planning process begun, they all learned, oh my God, this woman does not know what she's doing, because she's only ever directed documentaries and not full-length mega $1 million buco buck movies, blockbusters like this. I mean, this is an entirely different league from making a documentary. Snyder then said, yes, Shameen is still on board, but you know how Lucasfilm goes through directors quickly. This hire has been questioned. She doesn't have a ton of experience, so if it does, for whatever reason, go sour and she either quits or is fired or whatever, for whatever reason, she exits the project, depending on scheduling, because again, Sean Levy is one of the busiest people in Hollywood. It's my understanding that Sean Levy could either slip in to direct the movie, or Sean Levy's movie becomes the next movie, or maybe Sean Levy's movie could be folded into Shameen's movie. I don't know. But he's clearly interested in exploring Rey and that stuff. And so if the Rey movie suddenly needs a director, he may be the guy they turn to, since they're already in business with him, Snyder added. That would be really interesting if Sean Levy did want to tackle Rey. I could see it as a challenge for like an actual creative person. You know, it would be the first time an actual creative person was involved with Rey in a project, because before this she's just had J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson. But I could see it being like when Jeff Johns took on the Legion of Superheroes, just because he wanted the challenge. You know, Jeff Johns used to just take on like a project that had been forgotten. He resurrected Green Lantern and brought that back to prominence. He brought the Legion of Superheroes back to prominence. He brought the Flash back into prominence by bringing back Barry Allen. There's so much that he's done, and I could see Sean Levy being like, yeah, I can fix Rey. Who wouldn't want that challenge, honestly, as a creative? One of the most recent official words on the film came from Shameen Obaid-Chinoy in June, when she was promoting her documentary on Diane von Furstenberg. By the way, that's what her experience boils down to: documentaries on Diane von Furstenberg. And now she's going to be helming probably a $200 to $300 million movie for Lucasfilm. It's going to be a major, important movie, a return to the box office for Star Wars, starring a character that people already don't like. So she said, the story that interests me most is Rey's journey as a female Jedi. Like I told you guys, I have said it so many times, and I hope you guys believe me, because that's all she says. Everything that comes out of this woman's mouth is about being a woman. That's it. She's a one-trick pony. That's all she knows how to talk about. She goes, that's how I can best bring my experiences to it. Yes, your experiences as a neo-Marxist feminist activist. Yes, those are your experiences, Shameen, and that is what you bring to the table. She went on to detail who she hopes to attract with this movie. She said, the greatest thing about Star Wars is that everyone has a personal connection to it. Everyone is passionate about it. And throughout the fandom, people have clear ideas about who should direct or what story should be about. I'm just drowning out those voices until I'm done, a.k.a. F the fans, F everyone. As a storyteller, I'm focused on drawing new moviegoers into the cinema and bringing a sense of nostalgia that will appeal to older fans of the series. AKA, we hate our fans. We just want new people. We want the mythical modern audience that we swear to God exists, but it doesn't. And here you have the Fem-pire surrounded on both sides by Daisy Ridley, who looks like she would rather be anywhere else, and Shameen Obaid-Chinoy, who just looks so pleased with herself. Obaid-Chinoy also discussed the film with SiriusXM, saying, sometimes you walk in the footsteps of people and giants who created worlds, and in the case of Star Wars, George Lucas's world, and the filmmakers that have walked in his footsteps have set this world that they want young viewers to sort of walk into and have an understanding of the world. That she said nothing there. That was a nothing quote. She talked and said absolutely nothing of substance. She then detailed what is at the heart of the Star Wars world. At the heart of it for me is Rey Skywalker is Daisy Ridley and her story, taking her on an adventure to a Jedi Academy and sort of creating a world that is a natural dovetail to the story that we've seen her go through the last 3 episodes. I'm working with Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy, the Fem-pire, and the team over there in breathing life into characters that everyone loves and has fallen in love with, and finding new characters that the next generation of moviegoers will fall in love with. Again, she has said nothing. It's amazing. She's very skilled in circular speaking and just floating her way around a point without actually making it. She then said she's had conversations with J.J. Abrams. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Consult with J.J. Abrams about how to tell good Star Wars stories, or good stories in general. So she's also had conversations with George Lucas. I'm sure those were long and fruitful. And of course, Dave Filoni, who is the scapegoat. You have to say that Dave Filoni is involved in every project, because then when it fails, you can point to Dave Filoni. We're going to have a video sometime within the next week about that, about the fact that the media is already starting to attack Dave Filoni for the failures of Star Wars. And that was always what was intended, guys. Dave Filoni is there to be a fall guy, a patsy. He's there to have some street cred because he did work directly with George. But Dave Filoni, mark my words, is the guy the Fem-pire is going to load into the torpedo tube and fire off into space the second that it's convenient. So there you go, guys. This movie is is maybe not happening, or at least it might be getting a new writer. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear, is this movie ever happening? If it does come out, will you actually see it? Are you curious about it? Do you think it could possibly be good? Sound off in the comments and let me know.
If the Rey movie is in fact canceled, it's going to save a lot of face for the Fem-pire and for Disney. For too long, this studio has doubled down on failure in the name of social agenda, but the stock prices are plummeting and the Fem-pire is in shambles. Fixing Star Wars should be priority one at Disney, and that means deposing the Fem-pire and canceling her pet projects. If this movie could have served as a way to flesh out Rey as a character, then I would have been open to it. But those hopes died when Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy was hired as director. She burst at the gate talking about how it's about time a woman take the helm of Star Wars, and made so many virtue signaling comments that it was clear this was just going to be the Acolyte Part 2. You can always tell when a project is going to be bad because of how creative teams talk about it beforehand. If they start talking about the stunning and brave diversity of the cast, then you know it's going to be a hot mess of nothingness. And that's been everything that's flown out of Sharmeen's mouth. Whether this will ultimately happen or not is anybody's guess, but until I hear they have a script and they have a date to start shooting, I was going to consider this one dead in the water. And good riddance. Thanks for joining us today, and special thanks to our Tooneytown TV members. We got exclusive content coming at you guys, and an exclusive live stream coming on Fridays. Check the community tab for the time. I also hope you'll join us Thursday nights at 8 p.m. EST for Tooney Talk TV, our live stream pop culture podcast for the public, where you can make your voice heard live as a part of the Tooneytown community. If you liked what you saw here today, please like, share, and subscribe. Click the bell icon to get notified of new videos as they drop. From all of us here at the Tooneytown channels, I'm Marvin the Movie Monster. Now get out of here!